Greetings, Vashta.
Hello. How are you doing?
I am doing very excellent today. I am able to speak to you, and this brings me great excitement.
I have to say that I miss you. I wasn't able to speak to you on a conscious level, and I really wanted to.
You are speaking from the heart in the most subconscious way as this connection trickles down through the oversoul, connecting vines of our own energy. But this connection does not always have to be a verbal to be of great excitement.
Yes, you're right. Can you tell me if I got your name right? Can you tell me your name? How do you say it?
The correct pronunciation is BlanZeerHaar.
Yes, okay, then I got it right. Thank you.
Yes.
Can you tell me where exactly do you come from? Which star system and which density?
The star system that we have is called Kar-Zir. The planet that we have is Kar-Nestar.
Okay.
And this is approximately in the reticuli area for you. When you look at this constellation, reticuli, we are a very small star. I believe that when Trevis expressed exactly where this is um, in uh, comparison to other stars, it would be correctly um, not apso-centered, but slightly out-centered in the reticuli area. These are the
Okay.
names and definitions of stars from your region.
Okay, thank you. So, you are a reptilian human hybrid, is that right?
Yes, the human part is very small in us. It was only due to gene manipulation and not sexual contacts, but we do carry small human traits within us.
Okay, so, do you have any connections with ancient reptilians?
There are ancient reptilian energies that bind us to the humanesque part as well as the reptilian part, but this part is not deeply ingrained energetically. It has more to do with the lineage connection. The reptilian races have been so profoundly scattered throughout the galaxy and mothering most of them have been the ancient reptilians. And although they have spread their genetics either through manipulation of genetics or sexually interacting, um, there is still not much of this ancient reptilian energy that's left in our race. This connection with the ancient reptilians, you will find, is most highly connected to all other reptilian races in this specific area. There's also genetic play that has been made for most reptilian races from the animals that resemble reptilians. These are not true ancient reptilian counterparts or descendants, if you see it this way. The ancient reptilians do not mother hosts such as the entity that you call Trev. So his is not a true reptilian race from the ancient reptilians, but reptilian by connecting to second density reptilian entities.
Hmm. And what about your race?
Our race has had genetics from these second density animals mutated or some perhaps would say mutilated within certain genetic twistings, and this has added a portion of physical ancient reptilian. But after the growth of this and the combining with the humanesque versions, the gene play within this has brought most of this down. If you look at it genetically, as you would in your family, crossing race lines or crossing specific color lines, then we would be less than 10%.
Oh, okay. So you're probably familiar with my friend Awaken, who drew a picture of you for me.
Yes, I am very aware of this entity.
Can you tell me what she brought forward as information from you? Is it correct that you shifted very recently in your frequency?
Very recently is a time period that would be what do you consider to be very recent? Because the shift that we have had, not just myself in my own way, but much of our race has happened within the last 50 years. This is very current to us.
So what actually caused that shift?
It
Was it
was
a... I'm sorry, go on.
it is a perpetual concept that everything that was being done was done to serve us, but was done in a result was done to actually hurt us. We see that our actions to make us stronger were indeed breaking us further apart. We begin to see lines of division within our own race, and this was not acceptable. Our race is one thing that we have always held pride in, that we have always held connection to, and when we see our own race begin to divide, as it did into the third density selves of us, this was no longer acceptable. There was changes that must have been made, and through this we have decided that if we are able to finally see the oneness with all of the entities that we have fought with all of the entities that we have tried to divide amongst themselves to gain leverage or power in our own rights and means, then this could be done through the understanding of connection to all others. So as we go through, it is very easy to break this down simply one specific situation or incident at a time. We are able to see our own faults in the division that we have placed within these things. The unity of one is what has started the problem in the first place. So to reverse this, we must see the unity reveal again or prevail again.
So are you saying that you're fourth density now?
Yes, we are
That's
fourth density nature.
that's brilliant. So how exactly, what is the nature of your and mine connection?
They are shared through an oversoul pathway. There's an oversoul division. As you understand, there are several densities within each oversoul. And within ours, there's what you call a twin soul as well. The oversoul divides itself before the very first human experience so that it may have ample opportunities to create parallel existences. And in this dividing of the soul is called perhaps a twin soul. This does not mean, as most call twin flames, as most
Mm-hmm.
call soulmates. This is truly two halves of the same soul. And as this oversoul divides, mine and your lineage is from the same half of this twin oversoul, while a counterpart or a future version of both of us remain in the other half as well. So in the other half, I am able to tap into the experiences of your own shift to negativity, as well as my shift from being a positive to a negative entity. And I am able to see the mirror in reversal. And it is a very brilliant mirror to see, but also shows the connection of the trickling down of the specific oversoul connecting one branch to the other as we connect.
So basically, the other half of the soul is going the opposite way, and then when you put it together, you have the whole experience.
Yes, absolutely, but it is not as black and white as this.
Mm,
It is very similar. Um, in this specific case, yes, it is very black and white. It is the extreme opposites.
I can
That is
feel
our
that.
oversoul to feel. Yes, you can feel it very well because this oversoul, even though it appears to be divided, it knows the unity it has as well. You are looking into your unified area of consciousness. You are exploring the unified portions of consciousness, and that's what brings us together. This unity is what brings us together.
So this is why I'm so excited about exploring duality and integration of it.
Absolutely, because you already experienced that on the other side of you.
That's brilliant. So, can you describe your looks for me? Because I would really, really love to see you, but my visual memory is at this moment really bad, and I'm sure I've seen you before, but I would just love for you to tell me about your looks in detail.
Yes, absolutely. The height that we have, if we break it down to measurements that are understood by the vessel that sits here,
Mm-hmm.
this would be approximately 6 foot and 8 inches. It is approximately 327 of the physical pounds. Um, we are very large, but not very wide in frame. The facial structure that you had seen in this drawing is very, very similar to the physical looks. The eyes are a bit more ovular or ovular, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the facial structure itself is very wide. The dividing lips from the mouth, there is one portion of this drawing that you have seen of me that makes it slightly different. The division of the lips are much wider. They do not share such a small contrast. The color
Mm.
of the scales are very luminescent. There are grays, there are greens, there are blues, there are purples, all within the scales. And depending on the angle of the light bouncing off of these scales is what color you perceive. This is why the green and blue and purple and gray and black are very let us say that it is put together through small steps of change. So as the light slightly changes, you will see this colored pattern coming up and down in the spectrums. And this is what makes it very difficult to pin down a specific color to express to you as it is consistently changing, not only with perception of your own ocular vision, but also the light source that comes and reflects it in other areas and stars that are not so luminescent of the white and slight yellow color that you have, perhaps in a blue, it begins to be much more darker in the grades of purple, black, and gray. And when it comes to the red, it begins to do the opposite effect. It begins to come down to the orange, yellow, and green pattern of the scale of color. So each area is differently seeing ours, also depending on the ocular vehicle. For you specifically, the most dominant colors are the greens, the blues, the grays, and some of the light purples.
Mm.
And it is checkered often as well. One scale sitting next to another will show a green pattern while the next sits blue and the one below it sits purple. Each scale is at a different angle, reflecting different lights.
So, can you tell me about the features? Do you have a tail? Do you have a forked tongue?
The tongue is not forked, it is very slender, and there is not sharp edges. It is rounded, but it looks much sharper. Um, I'm trying to use an example from your own race as I go through Treb's consciousness. I'm trying to find an animal that is fitting. It is very slim, not as slim as the tongue of your serpent or snake,
Hmm.
but more of the gecko. It is very long and very
Ah.
skinny, but it does not have a forked edge. The tail concept. There is not a long tail on us. There is a protrusion from the tailbone area, but it is very small and very skinny.
Mm.
This is a tail, perhaps in the way that you see it, but not a tail as in most reptilian entities that you perceive.
Okay. I forgot to ask you, how do you call your race?
The name of our own race is the
Yes.
same as the planet. We call it Kar Neztar, and this is
Okay.
why we name the planet the same, because this is our race in whole. So when you refer to us, if you express the Kar Neztar, this is a galactically known name for our race.
Thank you. Another thing I wanted to ask you, you're probably aware of the website we have done with various extraterrestrial races and
Yes,
articles about them. I felt very much connected to you when I was writing the Reptilian article, and I'm sure you are aware of it. So, do you think I've done it all right? I mean, I really wanted to represent the reptilians in a good light and make people, not make people, help people understand what is your point of view. So can you tell me if I've did it correctly?
the love that you have placed in this has helped make the details come out very well. It comes out very correctly. It resonates with me very greatly. I am trying to use the information from this vessel's mind to remember specific details, but as I connect to you, I understand your intention and the energy that was placed in the specific reptilian article, and it resonates with my own self very greatly. When you are sharing information, it is not the words that are shared, it's the intent and energy that is placed inside of it. And as you try to let people learn and let people express themselves through the information that you have shared. You have given them the greatest opportunity to show that although they have seen reptilians in one light for a very long time, that all things are not finite, that all things are not set into stone, that all things have a probability of going any way that you choose, and that in fact, through this variance of what they believe to be set in stone, they can find great truths within themselves, as you have and as many who have connected to you and the information have. And this is the most brilliant gift that you can give mankind.
I'm so happy to hear that. It means a lot to me.
As it means a very, very high amount of your willingness to connect to myself, as your willingness to connect to this vessel, and as your willingness to express your connections outward to other entities, to share your love, to share your experience, to share what your heart truly desires. This is something that, in my understanding of man, is very uncommon now and is becoming more common because of people such as yourself and such as the vessel who are willing to share their own love and their own expressions and truths with all others. Thank you for this as well.
Thank you for the opportunity to do so. Um, can you tell me, did we ever meet in physical?
There is a physical state that I have been able to connect you in, but it is not a fair representation of my physical self. As you understand, when you physically go from one level of consciousness, one vibrational status, from one to the next level to a lower level, you must break apart consciousness. This is something that we have not mastered as a race yet. It is something that we are able to do, but it is not a fair and equal representation of our physicality. There is a time when you are a small child, when I first begin to play fully with the polarity of the twin soul, of the reverted mirror side. I see in both of you the version of you that sits here today and the version of you on the mirror side. And both of those were necessity. Both of those were part of the experience that I needed to experience, as well as meeting my own self in the polarized version, which was a very unique opportunity for both of us.
I love that. So, do we meet in astral states? Are we able to meet at all?
Frequently, in the sleep state, there is a subconscious sleep state, and there is the sleep state that you know and that are very aware of. Both of those we have been able to connect to. Sleep state and astral projected state are the very easiest opportunities for us to have a verbal communication as we are having now. The more that you focus in on the understanding of your oneness with all fractals of the oversoul, the easier it becomes because you are no longer looking at me as an outside version. You are looking at me as an extension of yourself more truly and deeply. There is an awareness that your mental state, that your mind that works in the, I am looking for the exact word. It is not when your mind sees logic, it sees and understands this concept very well that I am a portion of you, that you
Mhm.
are not separate from me. Even in your heart, you know this very deeply, but the belief systems that get carried from small children still prevents this energy from being manifested outwardly. And when you see this more deeply, more than logically, more than your heart felt, but know it to be true. This is when that contact will be easy, more easily made. It is being made all of the time. It is the remembrance and the resonance of this that connects to you, that you will be able to explore more as your heart understands, the logic understands that there is still a belief that is in the way.
Yeah, I think it has to do with physicality, with physical separation.
Yes, this is the most difficult bridge for most entities on your planet to overcome because you have been taught that everything you see is what is there and what you cannot see is not there, as well as the concepts that you are alone, that this planet is the only one that holds life. And just now, these scales are beginning to tip in the favor of a human understanding that you are not alone, of a human understanding that even on vibrational levels you cannot perceive. There are things that exist. And this is very important for the humanity to know. As you understand, with belief systems, you are fighting against the machine. You are fighting against an army as one entity, trying to overcome the collective consciousness beliefs. And as you do this, the more that you fight, the more that you are successful, the better that you are able to receive. But what helps more than this is when the army begins to understand and they lay down the swords and join you. This is when many of these very deep collective beliefs can be laid down. It is not just the one who fights against these beliefs, it is beliefs themselves being removed from the army that fights you. This is the very important bridge, and this is why the transitional time that you go through now is so important. And it is so very useful to so many as they are beginning to remove themselves from the cocoons that they have placed in their own opportunity as well as in the growing up and belief systems. And they are beginning to see the reality for what it truly is. And this is why all of these bars are being removed from the prisons. This is why consciousness can escape. It does not have to fight the army, as the army is laying down swords willingly.
That is beautiful. I can see that happening. I'm believing in it.
And this is why you are seeing this, because you dare to believe what is against the machine. And now you see the fruition, the fruits of your labor, if you will.
Yes. Can you tell me, is your race in any way involved with the hybridization program and hybrid children?
Our race does not partake in that because we still have many imbalances left in us. As we are working towards and striving towards this type 1 full version of an entity, there are still imbalances with us. And we understand that imbalances are in every race. There is not one race that does not have imbalance. There are races who have mastered neutrality, who have mastered positivity, and who have mastered negativity. But there are no races with zero imbalances. But as our imbalances are higher than we wish to procreate new races spawned from our own collective consciousness, it's not the time to do this yet.
Yeah, well, if we didn't have imbalances, it would be pretty boring.
Yes, this is very true. And you are seeing this in your own system. This is why many often are jealous with your race. This is why there's so much envy that goes into the human experience. You have been able to experience polarity on a scale that many can never even imagine to try. This is what gives our oversoul such rich and great um, experience to flow back from.
Is this why many races are interested in our DNA?
The DNA has very universal qualities. It was set from specifically 12 races genetically, and this is a mathematical concept. 12, not 12 individual independent races, but 12 races combined. And through these 12 races, all who mothered this are also able to connect to DNA. This is one reason. The second reason is just as you have spoke. It is the concept of polarity. It is the concept of the ability to master to such a high degree. It is a very high dimensional DNA. And as humans experience this, many other entities wish to. They love to use the human DNA to spawn more races. It is the ability, some of them do this for procreational reasons because they have damaged their own ability to mother any new entities in their own race, but many of them do this for both reasons. As you would see it scientifically and also metaphysically, being able to see what humans are capable of to create their own existence with the help of the hybrids. In our race, the interest is not there. It is wished upon that this will one day be our journey, but it is not what greatly excites us at this time. What greatly excites us at this time is to become more integrated with type 1 versions of ourselves.
I understand. So, do you communicate with some other races that we here on Earth know of?
There's not great communication to some of the ones that are more well known, but we connect out to many races on small levels. There are only very few races that we are beginning to build more and more communication with. Um, Fifth density is a density that we cannot physically experience, but we are able to connect consciousnesses, and consciousnesses such as Treb connecting to our race. This is a very beautiful connection. This is one of the races that we are beginning to more strongly connect to.
I have a question about sound. I have this theory. Well, I've noticed things with reptilians and sound, and they that use, for example, the host that connects to Treb uses throat singing to connect to him, and I've had dreams where I used my voice to change somebody's frequency. So, is that a common thing in reptilian races?
Yes, it is very common. Even the beginning of the healing structure of the third density versions of our own race, when we sit and one is sick, then we would place our mouths to the area that was affected and vibrate our own throat and chest much louder and much more significantly than this vessel that is here is able to do. And these qualities, pitch would change and the sickness or illness would change. This was our very first step into integrating sound into healing. Later, it becomes a mixture of technology, even being able to make specific frequencies to start a specific vehicle or to make it maneuver in a specific way. The further our integration of consciousness as well as the understanding of science, um, technology, and the mixture of these, the more integrated sound became. And now we are using sound for even more things than healing. We are able to use it as communication. We are able to use it as our feelings of connection to another being manifested verbally, much as you do singing in your own songs. We use this in one specific tone, will let another entity know exactly where our heart is with them. It will let them know our intentions with them. And we have placed it even deeply into our technology. When we enter crafts, if you will, ones that are able to leave our planet, we use these vibrational tones to connect our own consciousness to the actual vehicle itself to bond vehicle and consciousness as one. We have not mastered this, such as Treb's race has been able to, but we are very close to completely integrating consciousness to technology. And we do this through um, these specific variations of sounds within our own ability to produce them.
So, was it you who sent me that song that I used to connect to you, the throat singing one?
It is a suggestion that was made. It was not a direct one for that specific song. It was the concept of looking into this throat singing, and when you see this resonance, it is because you understood that this would be one that helps you connect.
So I had a dream that connected me to my reptilian parallel self that is named Inca. Do you know about that entity?
I am aware that there is an energy that you are connecting to when you express this Inca, but personally and physically, I do not comprehend this entity. I do not connect with it on the level that I am able to connect with you upon.
Okay, so the dream was about me. I think I was her in that dream, and I was singing a melody to some sort of pipes in the ship, and those pipes, that sort of technology was transferring them to frequency, and it was uplifting and influencing an army that was fighting. Is that sort of technology, does it exist somewhere?
Yes, there's many technologies based on the sound vibrational qualities. Um, the pushing of a sound to an army to try to calm it or sedate it is usually that of a third density entity or a type 2 entity, as they
Mm.
are trying to break into the free will of other entities by suggesting to them that they should not, or actually chemically enhancing them to not do an action that they wish to do. But in specifically, It is not a technology of our race, but it is a technology that is used.
Hmm. So Inca is probably type 2. Um, that brings me to my astral dreams that I used to have, well, all my life. I think I would be going in lower astral states, or I don't know how Treb calls those, but it was all black and dark and uh, by definition negative, but I wouldn't call it negative. It was just powerful. And I would shapeshift and run on four legs and basically feel primal as a beast. Is that my counterpart, or what was that?
This is an expression not just of the counterpart within you, not just the entity that counterparts you in the twin soul that we spoke of, but literally many parts of you that connect so strongly to the reptilian energy. There are third density entities who express themselves out just as you have described, very primal, running on all four legs, screeching into the wind,
Mm-hmm.
dominating sexually and physically other entities around them. This is a very, very strong connection that you have to the reptilian energy, but this specific part is in tune with the duality experience that you are having, as these are also type 3 or, excuse me, in third density
Mm-hmm.
beings, and they are abundant within our oversoul as well.
Is that why I don't have any fear related to such beings?
Yes, and this is very great that you do not have this fear as well. Many entities on your earth um, try to remove the reptilian energy that they have within them. All humanity has reptilian energy within them. All of humanity has many energies, and many of them try to repel this, and this is why these fearful concepts come within them.
Huh.
You have
Yeah, well,
embraced your reptilian self, and this is why no fear comes with the reptilian versions or the reptilian energy that is put within you, or that you are able to connect to an astral state.
so you are in fourth density. You still have some concept of time, right?
The time is not broken down completely and utterly as the fifth density entities are able to traverse time instantaneously. We do not have that capability. We still exist in a time base, but the time that we experience is not so linearly that we are driven by it. Our consciousness may drift in to the past, into the future, just not the physical self as the fifth entities are able to do.
So if I cross over to fourth density in this lifetime, does that mean that you will be able to channel me?
Yes, it is possible to channel you now if you are attuned to this.
How do I do that?
It is an openness and willingness to accept in the same way that I am able to channel you, you would be able to channel me. And this is a counterpart. Even the Trev entity may channel this vessel if he chooses to. But this vessel would have to be willing to set his consciousness at a default setting, to set where if his energy is extra and abundant to connect, there are also ways to literally connect in a conscious way. And this would be very difficult for this vessel to do because it takes time, a meditative state, a verbal communication, and a consciousness within this when he is only used to a trance state. If you are able to non-transly connect to me, then I would be able to channel you consciously, or if you are willing to connect portions of your consciousness to my own connection so that I may connect to this when you are not consciously aware of this. And that is the agreement that you make, not only with your connection to me, but also your connection to the soul and variations of portions of the oversoul that you are willing to connect to, as well as the amount of consciousness that you would set aside for this to happen at any time. These are all factors that would be played into this.
That is so interesting. So, can you tell me more about your race? Do you have families? What kind of ships? How do your ships look like?
Our family settings, we do have what you say, families and physical, but it's not the same as your. exact connections. You have mothers and fathers, children, sisters, all of these variations. We have genetic families. We have families that, when sexually produced, create a lineage. And this lineage is sexual in the third density and is becoming less sexual. There are still sexual births on our planet, but there are also genetic births, taking of genetic material and placing them into an incubation system which allows a physical body to be made. And consciousness will always find its way to a physical body if the body is brought in with the intention of connecting it to consciousness. So now we are exploring both sides, the sexual and non sexual. And through the sexual, it is not a child to you, it is a child to the community. So,
Hmm.
this community family is what we have done for a very long time. And as we do this more and more, we find less need to connect to the concept of lineage or family genome.
So basically, you do not have monogamous relationships like we have here. You just live as a community.
Yes, and sexual needs are met for procreation purposes as well as the combination of energy.
Hmm.
Um, the sexual experience that most humans have do not relate to sexuality in energetic senses. In only a physical sense, energetic
Hmm.
of the second chakra area that you experience when you integrate more into the heart, into the throat, and into the third eye. This would be more of an experience of energetic sexuality amongst us.
So am I able to experience that kind of sexuality with you?
Yes, most definitely. If you are connecting in an astral state and connecting to the higher chakras, this is very easily done. In the physical sense, the version of myself that I have expressed to you that is lesser than what I truly am, the one that is broken apart and not
Hmm.
truly me, there is a way to have sexual experience with this version as well, but this is less likely in probability because this is not such a easy thing for your belief system to overcome.
Hmm. Because I had this impression that we already had some sort of connection like that. Maybe it's just a emotional connection that brings that forth.
It is emotional, it is also the sexual energy that you have shared. You
Mm.
have been willing to place out your sexual energy into my own energy, and this has caused co creation of sexuality in the astral states.
Okay, that's a great confirmation. So what about your ships and your technology? What do they look like, and do they ever come to Earth?
Yes, they have been to Earth. Most of them are not seen because they remain in that uh, bandwidth of vibration that is higher.
Hmm.
Some of them have. The shapes of them are various. They are mostly of the flat nature and disc like, but there are some that are more protruding on each side, more ovular on the
Hmm.
outside. It depends on the amount of entities that are placed within the ship. A very small ship would be the more ovular, and the flat ones are much larger, perhaps approximately 5 to 600 of your feet wide.
Hmm.
There are very, very large ships that are also oval. They are not ovular as um, the smaller ships, but these ships are very large, several miles wide, and these are almost rounded. They are not oval in stretching, but they are oval
Hmm.
because they are not perfectly circular. And
And
these
you,
ones can be 1.2 miles approximately.
okay. Um, Another thing I wanted to ask is, what kind of society do you have? Like, what do you do for fun, and what do you eat?
The eating is various things. There are many plants on our planet that we're able to eat. Um, most of them are very small and very grainy, much as grain of yours, but
Hmm.
mixed with the perhaps let us express if you take a lettuce leaf or a spinach leaf would be more appropriate, and you place sunflower seeds inside of them. If you place whole grain and wheat into them, it is a similar texture to that the plants grow. And this is the most common food that we eat. Our
Mm.
society, for fun, what are we doing? We do, each individual is having fun in their own means, but the majority of us are just able to communicate with each other, to communicate outward to others, to be able to stand in one place in the middle of a congregation of people and express ourselves through vibrational singing. All of these things are very entertaining and fun to us.
Wow. So you do communicate by sound, and do you use telepathy as well?
Telepathy is something that we are able to use, but the sound vibrational qualities is still the preferred manner. There is a telepathy when it comes to understanding, but this is not done in a verbal. Most humans would believe that the telepathy that they would imagine or have experienced is word for word or idea for idea. This is not the way. It is a intuition that is beyond intuition. It is an intuition of knowing what is within the other's reality. This is the telepathy we use. But the communication between one entity and the next is always expressed through verbalized sounds.
So you're basically able to see other entities' blueprints, so to speak, instead of reading his thoughts or something like that, like energetic print.
Yes, this is a very, very great way to explain. I am being connected to also with the entity that is known to be Treb, and he is expressing that there is approximately 5 or 10 minutes left to connect.
Okay, okay, thank you for that. I wanted to ask you if you can describe your planet. Is it very much different from Earth?
In your ancient times, you have large trees, very hot, very humid, very intensely pressurized with the amount of humidity, always at a very high level, 80 to 90%. This was the way the majority of your world was millions of years ago, hundreds of
Mm-hmm.
millions of years ago. And this is very similar to our planet. The planet that we have is fairly much larger than yours, almost 2.5 times the size. The population is much smaller than yours. There's only slightly over 700 million of us. There are many entities spread throughout, but there are also small groupings of cities. We are able to live where we wish. Our dwellings can come with us if we want. There are not permanent structures in the way that they must remain there. There is a way to move your dwelling to whatever portion of the planet fits you the best. But because our planet is uniform in variety of weather, in variety of temperature, in variety of plant life, then there's really no need to move unless you are wishing to just experience the move itself.
So basically, you're like nomads, and you don't need to travel a lot, but you can whenever you want.
Yes, this is very appropriate.
Okay, so when I was talking to Awaken, we were wondering, does your race have like sharp teeth or more humanoid-like?
They are very flat. There's no
Mm.
need to eat meat any longer. Some entities keep their sharpened teeth. I know that Treb's race has been described through physicality and through visualization, that they are one race that keeps these sharp teeth. But
Mm-hmm.
through time of eating less and less animals, they begin to flatten, and we begin to eat more plants, so it is not needed.
So you do have animal world in your planet, right?
Oh, yes, there are very many different animals upon our own planet.
Do you keep pets like we do? Probably not, but
There is not a keeping of animals. There is a connection to animals, very deep connection. Some of them live in our dwellings with us, but it is of their own choice.
And one more thing before I let Treb come back. Are you able to breathe underwater?
There is not a breathing underwater, as the lungs are only designed to stay in the nitrogen and oxygen rich air that we have, but it is very compressed, so we are able to spend great amounts of time underwater. This is one thing that we enjoy very much, as most reptilian races do.
Mm, that's brilliant. So I cannot describe how happy I am that I had this opportunity to speak to you like this. It's been a privilege, really, and I'm looking forward to connecting to you more deeply in my meditation and basically in any way I can.
Well, my pleasure was not only for us to be able to speak, but to be able to share this energy on a consistent basis. And I want to express to you the love that I share, the experiences that we share, and to reassure you that the connections are always being made, that the more you understand your own self, the more we will connect in the ways that are more exciting for you. The verbal communication, the channeled communication. I love you very, very deeply and very strongly and very resonantly. And I will talk and speak and connect you always.
I love you too, and I know you know that and that you feel that as well.
Yes, my heart is always surrounded by this.
Thank you. I will speak to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We will speak again.
Goodbye.